Hello everyone, welcome back to Kidspace. We're so happy to have you. We have missed you and we have something brand new for our parents. We're calling it Parents Zone. This is all about our families, our children, or their well-being, their spiritual well-being, as well as their emotional and educational well-being. And today, we're starting with a very special topic. We're starting with homeschooling. Now, to help me with that conversation, I have Sister Lenora Holness with me today. I'm going to ask her just to introduce her two boys.
Okay, so right beside me is Joshua Holness, the younger of the two. Say hi, Josh.
Hi.
And beside him is my firstborn, Sean Holness.
Hello.
Hi. So we have Sean, Joshua, and Sister Lenora Holness. Now we're talking about homeschooling. What is homeschooling, Sister Holness?
Okay, so essentially, homeschooling is, as the name suggests, schooling that takes place at home, where the parents are in charge of the children's education, as opposed to teachers within the school setting.
Okay, so the parents become the teachers, the
Correct.
primary teacher.
Correct.
All right, how long have you been doing homeschooling now?
Approximately 5 years.
5 years. Joshua is how old?
Joshua is 8.
You're 8,
Yeah.
and Sean is
13.
13. So that means you've been doing it for 5 years now. What is the process like for both Joshua and Sean? Sean is just about in his teens. Joshua is still young. How long has each of them been in the homeschooling system, and what do you do for each of them? So just walk me through a general thing.
All right, both of them would have been in the homeschooling system for the same period of time. As it relates to Sean would have been exposed somewhat to formal education since he was in grade one to grade 4.
Okay.
The first part of the school year, the first semester of grade 4. I think that's around about the time when the COVID pandemic sets in, and we had to pull him. Joshua was in K2.
Okay. When you say pull
At the
Sean,
time.
what was the process that you had to go through? I can't imagine that you just pull Sean out of the school system. Is there a formal process that parents have to undertake to start homeschooling? Walk me through that process.
All right. So the first thing that was done, I went to the school that they were both registered to. I spoke with the principal,
Okay.
and I explained my position at the time with the reason behind the new move that we were intending to make as a family. After that was done, I then visited the Ministry of Education to find out the procedures with regards to how to go about the execution of the new venture. And from there, we followed through with the requirements that were stipulated, and we began. There were a few challenges.
Just before I get to the challenges, sis, can you tell me about what the documentation is like? What were some of the requirements that the government asked for in order for this to be done, for homeschooling to start?
All right, so their birth certificates had to be submitted. The last school that they attended, a recommendation from a JP had to be submitted. It has been quite a good while back. I don't quite remember. Their immunization passport had to be submitted. And for the most part, birth certificates.
Yes, you mentioned birth certificate. Is there a form as well? You have to complete the form?
Yes. They have a form at the ministry that parents has to complete upon presenting the documents.
What about qualifications? Can anybody go ahead and do homeschooling? Did you have to have any formal education? Do you have to be a trained teacher to do homeschooling?
All right, so the requirements where that is concerned is quite simple. parents who are undertaking the education of their children,
Yes.
they need to be at least one level
Okay.
above
Mhm.
the grade level or the educational level of the child.
Okay.
For example, Sean, Joshua, he is at the primary level.
Right.
If I were to teach him only, then my educational level would at least had to be at the secondary,
Mhm.
or I would have at least had to complete the secondary
Yes.
level, and by that I mean I would have had to garner some CXC subjects.
Okay.
Because they want to know that, the person who is engaging in the educational aspect of the children, they are well qualified to rightfully execute, so that in such a way that the children are not limited in their learning or their exposures of the important concepts to be covered.
You touched on something I want to get back to after we come back for a brief break. But just before we go off for the break, I want to ask Sean, you have been in the formal education system for a few years. Can you tell me about what your experience was like there versus now, being at home, being homeschooled by mommy?
Sure. Well, being in the formal school, it was great until my friends started to distract me from, learning.
Right.
And for that matter, I started to fall back on some subjects that I was really good in. Like for example, in grade 1, I was really good at math, but like when I started to go to grade 2, grade 3, and grade 4, I started to decrease where I should have increased.
I see.
And so because of that, my mom decided to drag me into homeschooling, and it has become a lot more easier for me because no distractions, one-to-one.
Nice. And just before we go for the break, one more question. Can you tell me, Sister Wholeness, what has their behavior been like? Especially Sean, since he was there for probably the longest time, what was his behavior like in school, the formal education system, and what is his behavior like now that he's being homeschooled?
Okay, so to be quite frank, whilst he was in the school system, we had no behavioral issues with regards to indiscipline. There was one occasion when we were called in because his teacher was a little bit concerned that he was not taking things too seriously.
Okay.
He was, quite on the jovial side, and I guess he would have alluded to, the distraction. So while he was being distracted, he too was distracting. As the transition took place where he became a homeschool student, he understood that there's a time and place for everything. And when it's school time, it's school time. When it's playtime, it's playtime. And he understands his mommy.
Yes,
He
thank you.
understands.
That's what I see. That's stirring up mommy.
He
Thank you
understands.
so much. We're going to take. Do you have something else you want to share?
I was just going to say that, with that being said, I don't have that much issue as it relates to behavioral concerns. However, children will be children. Sometimes they do, become a bit complacent at times, and with the being in the comfort of their own space, sometimes they tend to get too comfortable. So we have to remind them from time to time that this is still school.
Yes. Just when we come back from the break, we're going to take a deeper look into the curriculum and what Sean and Joshua learns each day. So stay tuned. We're going to take a real quick break, but stay with us.
For all your events such as educational forums, workshops, book launches, weddings, and more, contact Noreen Daly, the ultimate MC and event host. Visit noreendaily.com or follow her on Instagram at Noreen Daily Jam. Noreen Daily, creating long-lasting memories.
Welcome back to Kidspace. We're continuing with our discussion with Sister Lenora Holness. We're talking about homeschooling. So far, we've discussed what the process is like, what the documentation is needed in order to transition from the formal school system into homeschooling. And now I'm talking with Sister Holness to tell me about the curriculum. She follows the national standards curriculum. And she is going to walk me through what goes on each day from Monday through Friday, what their timetable is like, what their schedule is like, what does Joshua go through, what does Sean go through. Give me that information, Sister Holness.
Okay, so essentially we follow the curriculum that is set out by the Ministry of Education. Joshua currently is at the primary level. Sean J is at the secondary level of their education. And what I do is on a daily basis, we have a schedule, a timetable,
Yes.
where each day they know what subject area will be covered. The school day starts at about 8 and it ends at 2. Because they're at different levels, it's somewhat of a challenge because what I have to do is I have to stagger both of them. So I'll start with Joshua at 8 sometimes, while Sean J has an activity to do. And by the time I'm through working with the Joshua, going through the concepts, explaining the concepts, and then giving him his activities, I'll set him off and then pick up with Sean. We go through that process until about 1
Or 2.
No, 1. That's where they break for their lunch break.
Okay.
Now bear in mind, while all that is done, I still have to be, transitioning between 2 roles, teacher and parent, because by the time they get to lunchtime, lunch has to be ready.
Right.
So I am principal, teacher,
Yes.
mother, and everybody in one,
Yes.
right? But we find a way to make it work. So they will have, for Sean, currently he is now doing 4 subjects.
What are those subjects?
Those are math, POA, human and social biology, and information technology.
Okay. What about Joshua?
And-
What is he going through?
And for Joshua, he actually does the language arts, maths, reading. We spend a lot of time with reading.
Okay.
Interestingly, the other day, while we were working assiduously on preparing Sean for his first set of exams, Joshua got neglected somewhat. And it's so interesting that by the time we picked up back with Josh, his reading level, fell drastically behind. And I was, oh my goodness, because I took it for granted that he was doing well. So, it wouldn't have affected him that negatively, right?
Let me ask you,
But
Joshua,
it did.
So you saw that he fell down, but you were able to.
Yes, man, he's right up back.
Beautiful.
And even beyond, he's good now.
So let me ask you, Joshua, what's your favorite subject right now?
Well, my favorite subject is language arts.
Language arts. Nice. And what do you enjoy doing each day? Which you said language arts is your favorite subject. So what do you enjoy about homeschooling?
Well, I enjoy that I get to learn,
Yes.
and I also get to build up my IQ.
Oh, wow. Yes. Yes. I love that. And Sean, what's your favorite subject right now?
Probably IT.
IT. Now, Mommy mentioned that she sets up and starts at about 8. Can you tell me about the classroom setting? Do you have to have a dedicated space? What's in there?
All right, so their room is big enough
Okay.
to accommodate their desks. So we have a formal structure that is set up within the home because that's a stipulation
Yes.
that the Ministry of Education would have had on their requirement list. Now, while that is so, the truth is sometimes there are days, there are moments when, if they want to sit around the island, they sit around the island. If they want to work around the computer decks, they're around the computer decks.
Okay.
The important thing is that they're not too comfortable to the point where they become negligent or complacent, right? And as a matter of fact, currently, the thought came to me that sometimes I'm going to take them outside of the home. You understand? To take them in nature, and do some, because sometimes, you want to change it up a bit for them to be stimulated in different ways.
You mentioned some subjects that they're doing, IT, language arts. What are the other subjects that they follow? It sounds like you follow basically what everybody else is doing in the regular school, so they're not missing out on anything. What else are they doing?
All right, so Joshua, I should put this in as it relates to the second languages, either Spanish or French, that the regular system offers, school system offers. We are a little bit behind where that is concerned. Much emphasis has not been placed on the different language, the second language that perhaps is a requirement, and so we're seeking to inculcate that somewhere, But outside of that, Joshua does reading, penmanship, language arts, math, integrated studies. That's where, he's exposed to a little bit of everything, the human body, the social environment, the community, general stuff. And there are other things that we would have included in the curriculum that, in the school system, they would call it extracurricular activities.
Nice.
So that's swimming. There are swimming sessions for this school year begins the mid-November. Then they're exposed to music, right? Sean J is ahead of Joshua with regards to his music studies, and then both of them are doing voice training as well.
So
we try to get no. I'm not teaching the music and the whatever, but so far I have been the one primarily invested with getting them the education that they need in terms of these subject areas. I would have approached an institution to assist me 2 days out of the week for some extra, classes with Sean J, because things are getting a little bit tight, where I am concerned, because I have to be now engaging in other things.
You mentioned just now about investment. What type of investment have you had to make in terms of time and money, resources? What was that like for you?
All right, so it's quite a sacrifice, I must say, for persons who are interested in doing homeschool. It's quite a sacrifice, right? And you have to, be mindful that you have to make a lot of sacrifice. The children, their education at this point comes first. And if you are the sole teacher, especially in my case where I have to be, covering the course content, for both of them, it means that I am very limited in terms of leisure, right? And so the discipline too, we have to be very disciplined. So for persons who are considering this route, you have to be mindful that you must be disciplined, because you can't say, all right, because of the flexibility that comes with the whole, we're going to skip today and, and then, because at the end of the day, if that is continued, the children will be at a disadvantage.
I see.
So, those are some things that we have to factor in and stuff. But it's very rewarding. It's very rewarding. Though challenging, it is rewarding.
I was just about to ask you that even though there's a great investment of time, you're seeing whereby investing that time into them, you're seeing the fruits.
So a part of the experience was that Sean was to, get a feel of the examination conditions. And so we attempted last exam sitting to have him just take a few, just to see what
type of exams are these?
CXC
exams.
Right. But it was just for him to be exposed to what the examination conditions are like. But it so turned out that he was successful in them, and I praise God.
Beautiful. We're going to talk about that after we come from this break. So please stay with us. We have some last bits to discuss. Stay with us.
Let's go! Mummies and daddies, do you want to save space for your children to learn more about God? Then join us on Kidspace!
Yes, boys and girls, mommies and daddies, join us for story time. Discover more and explore more. And don't forget our Kidspace Kitchen with Auntie Patrice. Log on to our YouTube channel today. It's Kidspace, where we bring you inspiration from our space to your space.
Kids Space Parents. It's here. What's here?
Parents Zone.
Parents Zone! Yay!
Yes, Parents Zone. Join us this and every Sunday here on our Kids Space channel. You won't want to miss any episode, so go ahead, like, share, and subscribe to our channel for your notifications.
Welcome back, parents, to Parents Zone right here on Kidspace. We're just about wrapping up this fruitful discussion we've been having with Sister Lenora Holness. We're talking about homeschooling. So far, we've discussed what homeschooling is, some of the rewards and the challenges. We've touched on them briefly, but now we want to expound on them just a bit more. Tell me about some of the challenges that you've been going through, Sister Holness, with homeschooling.
Okay, so as I made mention of before, the major challenge that I contend with is the fact that I have to sacrifice a lot. Sometimes there are things that I need to do, but because I do not have a substitute, those, errands are left unattended. I have to ensure at all times that, I am on top of the game. Because if that is not the case, then the children's education is at risk. So I have to sacrifice me for them.
Let me go to Joshua. Have you experienced any difficulty, Joshua, or anything that's a bit challenging for you?
In school?
In homeschooling, right?
Sometimes.
Sometimes. You want to think about it while I go to Sean? Okay, Sean, what are challenges you experience with homeschooling?
Now that I think about it, I don't really think I experienced any challenges.
Oh, so you're loving homeschooling?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Even when I'm strict.
He's so sweet. I'm glad you enjoy it. What about you, Joshua? Anything that you don't really enjoy?
Well, the fact that if she sometimes gives me like a lot of work.
Oh, the work. That's okay.
I had to learn how to balance that.
Okay. Now that you mentioned that, tell me, Sister Holness, how have you grown? What have you gained from homeschooling?
All right, so I am more self-aware. Homeschooling is not for the faint at heart. It takes a certain level of grit, perseverance, sticking to it. Because a lot of times I feel like, oh no, I'm not doing this. No, I'm going to put you guys back into school. That kind of thing. Even though that's not where my heart is, but sometimes that feeling comes. It's right. But notwithstanding those feelings, I'm able to start over and try again, push again. And so I become very self-aware that sometimes, I tend to be impatient with them. And that gets the better of me when I think about the fact that God is so patient with us, and when they slip up or when they don't seem to get it right, I tend to be exact. And I'm like, no, God is not so exact with us, And so there are days, there are times, there are moments when I have to apologize to them. And when I say apologize, I mean apologize. They're right here in front of me or behind me. Sometimes they'll say, Mom, it's okay. I say, no, it's not okay. It's never okay to lose one school when dealing with children. You understand? And I literally beg them. Because you see, we're representatives of God, yeah? And it matters how we represent God to the children.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying? But it's a growing process, and I'm growing through it.
Amen.
And I give God thanks.
So we see now where homeschooling comes with challenges.
Oh yes,
but they come with the reward.
Oh yes.
And one of the rewards you mentioned was that you put Sean to attempt one of the exams just to get a feel. Tell me about those results.
Okay, so he did 5 subjects last CXC sitting. History, English language, English B, which is literature.
Yes.
POB, principles of business, that is. And what was the other one? Social studies.
Okay.
Right. He was successful in all of them.
Wow.
We're querying one of the results, and we're now in dialogue with the council. Suffice to say, he got a 1 in English language.
Wow.
For history, he got a 3 in history, and we are rejoicing for that pass. I'll tell you why. He made an error on the paper where one entire section was left undone. So he answered 2 questions under the same section, whereas he was supposed to answer 1. So he was not, considered for both, questions. And so we thought he was going to fail, really. But God was faithful and he pulled him through.
And that shows that if he got a grade 3 with answering those 2 questions, can we imagine where he would have been?
So I go no further with the rest.
You have done well, Sister Wholeness. We see where homeschooling can be effective. We see the results in Sean. We know Joshua is coming, where he will have his time to do his exams. And I want you to give us a last message for our viewers, for Parent Zone. How would you encourage parents who are considering starting homeschooling?
Go for it. If you're truly considering homeschooling, go for it. Especially if you can afford to do so in the formative years of the child's life, go for it, because those formative years are very crucial in their experience. We are told that whatever they learn during those first 7 years, those things stick with them throughout a lifetime. I'll encourage you that you'll need to be very focused, very disciplined, very persevering, because it's not easy. Though it's not easy, it's worth it. It's quite worth it. A lot of sacrifices are involved, but trust me, the love of your children will push you to do what is best for them. That being said, I rest my case.
That's a beautiful note to end on. I want to thank you so much, Sister Wholeness.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Joshua, for being here. Thank you, Sean. We enjoyed this discussion. That's just episode 1 of Parent Zone. We have many more lined up for you, so make sure you stay tuned. But it's goodbye for now, right here from Kids Space.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.